Hello and welcome back, this time to a more fitting and proper layer. Today I have summoned you here to join in the creation and design work of a very special piece. This table here is one that I have featured in a few of my previous videos and photos across social media. It is, however, in a bit of a state of disrepair these days after many years of being sealed away. And now it is time to give it a fitting resurrection as something more grand than its original design. Now, this is the table in question, which of course could simply be covered with a tablecloth, but I think that ruins a little bit of the vision, so to speak. A very simple wooden pedestal table, the perfect addition to the chair that I sit in. However, the surface, after many years sealed away, is, well, let's say rough. So today's task will be the complete redesign and refinishing of this table to act as a more unifying and special piece. The idea is to have this table be fully usable as a ritual tool in any Sulvoth practices. Naturally, this means the presence of runes, inscriptions, perhaps a sigil, and a complete redesign of a otherwise simple table. Like any project, we are going to be starting with a few sketches. Originally, this piece was going to be a grand sigil of intricate lines and many inscriptions. However, I've actually thought about the utility of such a piece. A complex sigil design that takes up the entirety of the face of the table is going to limit it in a few key ways. For the actual design, I would like to ensure to incorporate the entire alphabet of Sulvoth. This is going to be a wonderful setting space or staging area for any sculptures or small artworks that I would like to photograph, all bound within a nice ring of runes. First step of a project like this is, of course, going to be the removal of the previous finish on the wood and the design work, which I will likely be doing in pencil over top before we get to most likely wood burning. As much as I would enjoy working on a piece like this right here, filming the process, I believe I must emerge from my lair to ensure that I'm not breathing in everything that comes off of this. So the next time that you will see me or this table will be out in the daylight in a safer space to sand the finish off. And so we now get to the fun part. I think it would be fitting for a table such as this to have its surface be a little bit more versatile than focusing on a specific rune or purpose. Thus, we will be doing a relatively simple depiction of the full Sulvoth alphabet upon its surface. The central space, in this sketch at least, was intended to be this dark portal that kind of acts as a little bit of contrast. But for the table in general, we will see once this outer ring is finished if the black dark center is actually necessary or not. This piece will be a staging ground of sorts. A blank but dark canvas for a candle to ominously sit, a perfect podium for a bone or relic to find itself upon. For the sides, we must inscribe something that will travel across the surface cleanly, and will imbue the table with some specific properties. For this, we will be translating a phrase into Sulvoth, the language of magic. This is a technique I have never shared on any of my pages before. When it comes to finding center of a circular plane like this, or any of my large-scale sigil paintings that have these large, perfect rings on them, I actually exclusively use a ruler. After triangulating the center on a circular plane like this, it is easy to then measure out a radius and mark the concentric rings, ensuring that all of them are equally distant from that center point. This also acts as a good grounding point for the runes that will be laid out in the future. It is meticulous, it is monotonous, but it is also very effective. Using a little bit more math here, I've divided the 360 degrees of the rings with the 30 runes that need to get placed here, coming out to a very clean 12 degrees. So the stencil is marked with these 12-degree increments, ensuring that each rune is going to get the proper spacing. And then after, the stencil is going to be rotated exactly by 6 degrees to ensure that the dots that are going to be spacing the runes are going to also be equidistant, and everything will be centered and clean. At long last, now that the guidelines are in place, it is time to actually begin depicting the runes on its surface. A new dawn lovingly graces the lair today. Good morning. It is the following day. Yesterday was the overall layout day. Most of the pencil work on the surface is done. The runes are laid out, as well as the vils, or the spacer dots that prevent the runes from being read like a word and are instead interpreted as their individual runic meanings. There's still a little bit more to do on the top surface here. The runes are not going to be just simple line work. This is going to be a very prevalent table within my space, and as such, I'm going to take some extra time to detail the runes fittingly. That is a much more enjoyable and simpler task, though, as I don't need to do any measurements from this point on. Where I do need to measure, however, is going to be the underside inscription. This is today's first task, the translation of a phrase into a Sulvoth inscription, something that is going to nicely line this table. Now let us write something fitting. Now that the runes have been fully depicted and detailed, I am using a kneaded eraser to pull off any extra graphite, any extra material that will complicate the wood burning process. This is going to leave a very fine line, allowing for a very quick and easy cleanup. This particular technique of wood burning is a very lengthy, slow process. I'm after the deep, dark, and textured lines that the highest heat setting on this wood burner offers, and as such, it is very slow moving, very meticulous, and very hard on the hands. The result, however, is the ability to actually feel the runes on the surface, and as dark as they can be. The final step of preparation is a series of coats of a very water-resistant polyurethane varnish, which is going to bring out some of the lovely wood grain and also keep the surface protected against any future workings on this table. I opted not to stain this particular piece to ensure that the contrast between the wood burn lines and the grain of the wood would be bold. Here is the final look at the surface of this table. At long last, the table is finished and now becomes a permanent part of the lair here. I am very happy that this project is finally completed. It has been a very enlightening experience and has also allowed me to pull out a few tools that I have not used in quite some time, namely the wood burner. I think it is only proper for such a table to get used for the first time here.
Voksu nath samaar, duch omkrin dum as. Hosark zazol omkrin jir, isk imravek ij of iat.
I think this is properly fitting now. I would like to thank you for joining me for what was essentially a week. It has been a little bit of time between the final layer of varnish on this piece and allowing it to fully cure, so it was ready for such activities. I would also like to take a moment to thank my dear acolytes, my patrons over on Patreon. It is with their support and assistance that I am able to continue to create projects and to focus so intently on my artistic practice. As a person, I am quite against the idea of taking sponsors, especially for products that I care very little for. As such, I'm intending to keep this channel, as well as most of my pages, as free of sponsors and ads as possible. It is with the support of my patrons that allows me to still earn a living from my work. And this thanks also extends to those who have commissioned me for original artwork, purchased a painting, or have sought to have some sort of artifact inscribed with Sulvoth in their own possession. I thank you all very deeply and am looking forward to using this table quite a lot in the future, and you will be seeing it quite soon. The next project has already been planned.